So here's an article that appeared in CBC News on April the 5th, which is today, and it's a very interesting topic. The headline reads, "Ban on rescue dogs from countries at risk of spreading rabies to remain," CFIA says. Animal rescues say temporary ban is too heavy-handed, preventing healthy dogs from finding homes in Canada. So basically, this is a story where animal advocacy groups are pushing for the end of this ban on the import of rescue dogs into Canada, more than 3 years after what was supposed to be a temporary measure went into place. The federal government says the rule will continue until further notice because of rabies concerns. And here's a quote: "Canada is now the only country in the world with such a restrictive, flat-out ban," said Camille Labchuk, a lawyer and executive director of Animal Justice, a nonprofit legal group that has tried unsuccessfully to fight the ban in court. Animal organizations like hers say the policy prevents healthy animals from legitimate international rescues from finding homes in Canada. In November of 2022, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and that's the meaning behind the acronym CFIA, banned the commercial import of dogs from more than 100 countries. Wow, 100 countries. And those 100 countries are considered high-risk countries for canine rabies. The ban includes dogs for adoption, fostering, sale, breeding, show, and research. At the time, the CFIA was responding to a case in 2021 when 2 rescue dogs from Iran were imported and later diagnosed with rabies. The dogs had received a rabies vaccine in Iran that is not licensed in Canada. So the article goes on to say the ban effectively shuts down the work of dozens of international animal rescues in Canada, including importing dogs, say, from the dog meat trade in countries like China, the Philippines, Vietnam, along with dogs coming from conflict zones like Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Haiti. And with all the recent conflict over in the Middle East, I'm sure we can add more countries to that list. You know, it makes me wonder how many countries are actually using dogs for meat. How many are out there? It truly is disgusting when you think about it. It's really disturbing. What does it say here? It says, "What I really fear is that this is a quote from that lawyer Labchuk. What I really fear is that there's dogs on the streets who are being shot at, dogs who are suffering because they can't get veterinary care, dogs in war-torn countries, and perhaps dogs being eaten in the dog meat trade, all because Canada refuses to lift this ban," she said. Labchuk says all other Western countries, including Europe and the US, have brought in stringent screening dogs to enter safely. Those include requiring proof of proper vaccinations, blood tests that check for rabies, antibodies, and quarantines when needed. What we've seen now in the United States move away from the ban and towards more reasonable evidence-based measures, while Canada has not, Labchuk said. This really raises a question, you know. I mean, obviously the ban was put in place to prevent disease from coming into Canada, but at the same time, it's kind of heart-wrenching to think about all the dogs out there that could be saved that came over to Canada. I mean, there's a lot of families out there looking for dogs. It is really quite sad. I'm not too sure what the right answer is on this point of contention. I mean, the rabies issue is huge, but at the same time, having the ability to put in place a humanitarian position where you go and rescue dogs is also very important. What does it say here? It goes on to say the CFIA also points out that the incubation period for rabies in dogs is 6 months, making quarantine difficult in Canada. Well, that's a good point. Where are you going to put all of these dogs? I suppose if we created the facilities, or if somebody had the facilities that they were willing to offer, that perhaps we could get through that obstacle. So the CBC News spoke to a veterinarian in Ottawa. Her name is Kelly Labchuk and has worked for the CFIA. And she says the ban is necessary to protect both humans and pets. Interesting. Quote, "We need to keep it out of the country and protect our pets from it," Butler says. "The danger to people is beyond imagination. Rabies is really a life and death disease. These are countries where canine rabies are a real problem," Butler said. "We can't be allowing those pets to come into Canada to put our people at risk. It's pretty straightforward. You just say no." The article continues, and the CFIA says it will continue to explore options for long-term solutions for dog imports. Animal Justice said the CFIA hasn't given her any reason to hope it is working to lift the ban. Her group continues to fight the restrictions along with dozens of rescue groups, including, I don't know how to say this word. I'm gonna guess the SOI Soy Dog Foundation, which operates out of Thailand. Sorry about that. My Thailand skills are very, very limited. A blanket ban like this is ridiculous, especially with absolutely no exemptions for responsible rescue organizations, said Lara Pleasance, who rescued her two-legged senior dog Amira through Soy Dog before the ban came into place. She says it's really heartbreaking. And I just clicked on another story from CBC News that's related to that story, and it's called "Here's What You Need to Know About Rabies." It says rabies is transmitted when an infected mammal's contaminated saliva gets into a new mammalian host through a bite, lick, or scratch. The virus travels through the victim's peripheral nervous system, according to Dr. Isaac Bogach, an infectious diseases specialist. It eventually settles into the central nervous system. Without treatment, eventually one of two conditions develops: encephalitic rabies or paralytic rabies, which is less common. The final common pathway, sadly, is coma and death, said Bogach. So it really is a dilemma as to what we should be doing, what's the right answer, and it's a toughie. I guess all of us who like dogs would love to see dogs that are starving to death, dogs that are being abused, dogs that aren't receiving any love. We'd love to see them come to Canada and be adopted. But at the same time, we have to protect our dogs that we have here. We need to protect the humans that live here. Boy, oh boy. And it's a tough topic, because you've got You've got to think about safety. You got to think about health. But I don't know. It just seems like that's a lot of countries, 100 countries. Maybe they could review the countries again. Maybe there are some countries where we could establish ties in terms of adopting rescues, bringing rescues in. I don't know. I just wanted to share that topic and that article in this video. If you have any comments or if you've got any experience with rescues, or if you're a veterinarian, or if you just want to add something to the conversation, leave a comment down below. Anyways, that's all I have for now. I will talk to you guys later.